of information on this other than what was in the press release, but it was around 12:30 on Friday on East 26th Street near Village Circle. We had a vehicle, an F-350, that was going east on 26th Street. It ended up crossing oncoming traffic, I think driving on a sidewalk for a short distance, hit a light pole and then hit a tree. The driver was pronounced deceased. I think he was initially taken to the hospital and then pronounced deceased at the hospital. He is a 63-year-old man. We're still working on figuring out exactly what happened, so I don't have any answers as far as what led up to it, if there was a medical event, if there were drugs, alcohol involved, or even what the speed was at this point. So, any questions on that one? Okay. Next one was Saturday night. This was on 57th Street and Rateliff. I'm not sure how to say that, but that was a little bit west of 57th Street and Veterans Parkway. And this one we had a motorcycle that was going east on 57th Street. We had a car that was on that road crossing to make a left turn to go west on 57th Street. We had several witnesses that said the motorcycle was traveling at a high rate of speed. The witness estimate placed it around 70 miles an hour. We'll do some investigating on that part to see if we can determine a minimum speed. The motorcyclist struck the car and was pronounced deceased on scene. That motorcyclist is a 21-year-old man from Sioux Falls.
Do we know if he was wearing a helmet?
I think he did. Yeah, he did have helmet and eye protection.
Do we know his reasoning for going at a high speed?
No.
Whether drugs or alcohol involved in that one?
Too soon, yeah, too soon to say if there were drugs or alcohol involved. That'll be part of the autopsy when that happens. But the easy explanation for this was speed, going way too fast for that roadway. We've talked about the dangers of speeding, the dangers of racing. Not to say that this was a race, but that high speed. This is a good example of why. It's unfortunate that the motorcyclist lost his life, but it was something that he could have prevented just by going slower. The motorcycle.
Speed limit on that road?
I believe I might have it here.
Probably 35 or 40.
The speed limit's 40. Excuse me, in that area. Yeah, so the speed limit's 40. He was traveling, what witnesses said, around 70 miles an hour. Like I said, our investigators will look into that, see if there's a way they can determine the minimum speed that he was traveling. But this is a great example of why it's important to follow the speed limits. 30 miles an hour over the speed limit is not safe. The car, they would have thought they had plenty of time, but obviously since the motorcycle was traveling so fast, they didn't anticipate that collision would happen. So we do a lot of focus on speeds, and this is partly the reason why. We want people to drive the speed limits. If you're driving the speed limits, there's a less chance of having serious injuries or death that would happen. Any questions on that?
Were there any arrests made yet at this time for any of those crashes?
So the one on Friday, it was a singular vehicle accident. So the deceased man was the one that was involved. So no, obviously, arrests on that one. This one, the car driver, there's no charges at this point in time. And then we get another one that I haven't talked about. There was an arrest that was made in that one.
What's the condition of the person in the car?
I think they were fine. Yeah, there was no visible injuries is what it says. And then so I'm not sure if they got checked out on their own, but there was no need for an ambulance with them. So.
And it was only one person in that car?
Yes, one person in that car and then the one person on the motorcycle. Good on that one. Okay, and then the last one, this one we had an arrest that was made. This was early Sunday morning, about 12:30 a.m. This was near the intersection of 34th Street North and North Cliff Avenue. We had a pickup that was pulling a car, and we had a man that was with the pickup and then a woman was with the car. There were some issues while they were pulling it, and so the two of them had stopped on the roadway, and they were working on fixing that problem before they continued on their way. That was a Chevy pickup, Chevy Silverado, that was going south on Cliff Avenue. The driver of that said he got a text message and looked down at his vehicles. He crashed into and then had significant serious damage to his vehicle as well. The two people, the man and a woman, were both pronounced deceased on the scene. The driver had been drinking. He was arrested for DWI second, 2 counts of vehicular homicide, use of an electronic device, which is basically the texting law, and then careless driving. And I can give you his name if you want it. Okay. It is, let me find it here. His last name is A-N-I-N-G. First is Dominic, D-O-M-I-N-I-C. Middle is James, J-A-M-E-S, and he's 21 from Sioux Falls. Any questions about that one?
So do we think it was more the text that caused this, or do you think it was just a combination of the alcohol, the text, and everything, or how do you determine what the actual?
The problem was not the fact that he received the text. The problem was he was looking at his phone and not paying attention to the road. So, you know, everybody knows you can get notifications, any type of various notifications, but you need to ignore it. You need to let it go until you reach a destination or until you're parked, stopped safely, not at a stoplight, but out of traffic. The problem was, obviously alcohol was a factor in this since he had been drinking, but probably the bigger issue is he took his eyes off the road. He was trying to conceal his phone, I believe, so he had it down, so he would have been looking down at his lap, and he had no idea that he even struck anybody. Obviously there was a huge collision, but I don't think he knew that people were involved in that because he wasn't looking at the road. So I mean, this is another one. Obviously drinking is not a good thing to be drinking and driving, but this also shows the importance of paying attention to the roadway. You know, if we can speculate all we want, but there's probably a good chance that he probably wouldn't have hit those people if he had been paying attention to the roadway. I can tell you the ages of the victims. The man is a 51-year-old from Sioux Falls. The woman is a 29-year-old from Mission, South Dakota. Anything else on that one?
Not releasing the names of the victims.
I can give you to you if you want them.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'll take the names.
Okay. The man, his last name is James, J-A-M-E-S. First is Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L. Middle is Dale, D-A-L-E. Like I said, he's 51 from Sioux Falls. And the woman, her last name is Jones, J-O-N-E-S. First is, I to spell it, Shereena. Middle is Tashina, and she's 29 from Mission, South Dakota. Anything else on that one? Okay. And onto the log, there was, I think we had maybe a couple of things. And one of them was an aggravated assault. This was on Saturday. This is around 2:30 a.m. Okay, let me get this. This was in the 2200 block of West Madison, and we had a couple of security guards had there's a business that they were working for, and basically they got everybody out of the business. They were outside and saw a bunch of people. It looked like there was a fight that was going on. I think there was 4 guys that were involved, and they kind of separated them. The people went off on their way. The 2 security guards were still outside, and they heard a engine revving, and one of them saw a vehicle driving right at him. He was carrying a firearm. He ended up pulling that gun and fired at that vehicle several times. He said he was afraid that that vehicle was going to hit him. Ended up hitting an apartment building and then crashing. The driver initially took off. That's where we were able to kind of piece everything together. That driver was assault and then 1 count of intentional damage to property. They kind of estimated, just a rough estimation, that the building received about $20,000 in damage. And I can give you that driver's name if you want that.
Yes,
His last name is Sanchez, Sanchez. First is Gabriel, Gabriel. Middle is Ernesto, Ernesto, and he's 39 from Sioux Falls.
Any charges for the victim then, or no, because he was afraid for his life?
No, yeah, no charges for the victim. I suppose there's, maybe a potential for some charges with that, but that would be up to the state's attorney's office after they review the case. So, not to say that there will be any or won't be any, but we didn't charge him with anything. He basically was defending himself or trying to protect himself. The other aggravated assaults are a lot of threats, a lot of reports, no significant injuries from that. And I think that might be most of everything. Everything else is a lot of reports. There was a robbery. A guy was punched and said he had some cash taken, but pornography and sex offenses are reports. And we did have, there's a few weapons violation. Most of them are reports, but we did have one that a trailer home was shot. That was the 5800 block of West Falcon Place. And that was Sunday night around 10:30 p.m. Didn't have any injuries that were reported. There was somebody that had heard it, and then the officers were looking in the area and then ended up finding the damage. So that's really all that I have, unless you have any questions.
No suspect on that one?
No suspects on that gunshot call. Anything else? Okay, thanks.